It kind of started with like my friends, and then this girl came up to us and she just started to say something like mean about my friend, and then she started to follow us around and talk stuff about us. She got up in my face and then she turned around and then punched me.
Carly was threatened, had her backpack spit on at school, and then the next day they threw rocks at her. She came home, fell, had skinned up her knee, but I didn't have any idea that it was as bad as it was, nor did I know she'd had 2 huge panic attacks over it. And then the following day she went to school, and at 10:30 she was beaten up that morning by a gang of girls. And at the time I didn't know why. Later I found out after watching the video it was because she was white. She was new, she was an easy target, and they celebrated after they did it. They were proud of themselves, high-fived. She received death threats from the kids at school, the same group of girls. And the principal was so concerned that he had a special drop-off and pick-up schedule for her. And I'm ashamed of myself for letting her continue to go, but she wanted to be with her friends.
I have 2 children that are like very different, as most kids are. I have one kiddo who, he's on the spectrum, but he's very, very smart. He's very ahead in a lot of classes, but there's those that he struggles with. The public school system has not really been able to meet his needs as far as, allowing him to move ahead where he needs to move ahead, but then giving him the extra help where he needs help.
My son has ADHD. He's also dyslexic, so coming here, we did meet with the principal and teachers and stuff like that to go over kind of dyslexia and how they could help us. But it was interesting, nobody knew anything about dyslexia. And they're like, well, he'll grow out of it, and I'm sitting here with my mother-in-law who's taught dyslexic kids like for 30 years. My father-in-law is dyslexic, my husband's dyslexic. It's not something you grow out of. It's like a learning disability you kind of learn to live with and learn tricks and tips to just go through life, And so I was like, that's kind of odd. Like the teachers here are not trained in that kind of thing.
There's a whole another situation in regards to the sex ed curriculums. Personally, my daughter was taught 2 classes of a sex ed curriculum that was co-ed, where somebody came in from Southwest District Health who they did not know and was teaching them co-ed and having them role play certain experiences. And they taught 2 classes before they sent the opt-out slip to the parents via email.
So every kid has different gifts. Some are athletic, some musical. It just so happens that my children's gifts tend to lean towards the academic. So they need a place that challenges them.
I can't afford to put my children in a private school, otherwise I would in a heartbeat. And we've looked at charter schools, but again, most of them are lottery, so that kind of closes that out.
So we went with the charter school because we had choice here in Idaho. I grew up in the Seattle area and it was either private or public. No ifs, ands, or buts. And neither of us enjoyed the public school experience.
My family needs school choice because, well, partially the Nampa School District said they couldn't keep my daughter safe at the end of her 6th grade year. But also as a former educator, I'm watching what's happening in the curriculum. And I know that 6th through 9th grade history, the teachers cannot teach any U.S. history. And so the more I researched, the more records I pulled, the more concerned I was about what my kids were being taught and weren't being taught.
One thing I did find was that the school district had bought multiple books by this one author. One was Coaching for Equity. It was basically the idea that you're white and you have white privilege, so you're racist. Bias, unconscious bias, or not, you're racist.
Choice is important in every aspect of our life. We want to have choice in what we drive, where we shop, where we work. But the more important something is to us, the more important it is that we have choice in that matter. And there's nothing more important to us than our children and our children's education.
It's sad to me that we can't just put our kids in public school. I mean, I feel like that should be a safe place to put our kids, but in a lot of instances it's not. So it is good to have choices where you can send a kid that fits.
You know, right now having my kids in a private school, I see that they're not just a number. The teacher knows their personality, they know who they are, they're learning more, they're learning real history, real American history, the good, the bad, the ugly, but not being indoctrinated.
All kids, not just my daughter, need to be in a classroom where people know who they are. They need to be in a classroom where teachers care. We all have things that we need that are different from somebody else.
I would advocate for fluidity because everyone's needs are a little different. So I like the idea of let the money follow the student wherever the student goes. So if they go to a private school, give us the money that we're paying in taxes to fund that private school and let us have that choice.
I honestly, I'll be honest, I don't know if the voucher's the best way, a tax credit's the best way, but no way at all is not working. But I always call it my John Miller reason, because when I was teaching, I had this boy named John Miller, and his mother loved him dearly. And she wanted the best for him, but she didn't know how to do that for him. And those were the kids that I really are near and dear to my heart. So when I talk to lawmakers, I'll say, listen, just because I can pull my child out and take care of this, or just because somebody can put their child in private school or do what they need, doesn't mean John Miller's mom can do that for him. And we have to provide that opportunity for all kids. So I don't see this getting cleaned up in the public schools, so they have to give parents another option. And this is the year to do that.